Northern Syria has been pounded in recent days. A major military advance by the Syrian regime, backed by Russian airstrikes, has led to gains on the battlefield in the province of Aleppo. It's allowed the Syrian regime to recapture 2 northern towns that had been besieged by the opposition for 3 years. It also cut supply lines from Turkey. While all that went on, the Geneva peace talks collapsed.
Russia is killing everybody but Daesh and regime. They're killing civilians, they're killing children, but they're never close to Daesh.
On January 11th, Russian jets bombed this school in the province of Aleppo. According to the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, 26 schools in the province have been attacked, killing many children. The main Syrian opposition bloc, the Syrian National Coalition, says Russian airstrikes have killed more than 1,700 civilians. It also says more than 180 children have died since the launch of the Russian campaign. Moscow began its aerial campaign in Syria on September 30th. It says it's helping the Assad regime fight Daesh, as well as other groups it considers terrorists. But Amnesty International says it looks like civilians are being deliberately attacked. Some Russian airstrikes appear to have directly attacked civilians or civilian objects by striking residential areas with no evident military target and even medical facilities, resulting in deaths and injuries to civilians. Such attacks may amount to war crimes. Most of the Russian airstrikes that are supposed to target Daesh are concentrated on the strongholds of non-Daesh forces, particularly the Free Syrian Army in the north and the west. Recently, several prominent rebel commanders have died in the Russian attacks. Zaran Alush, the leader of the most powerful rebel faction, Islam Army, was one of them. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov defines his country's targets this way.
If it looks like a terrorist, if it acts like a terrorist, if it walks like a terrorist, if it fights like a terrorist, it's a terrorist, right? I would recall that we always were saying that we are going to fight ISIL and other terrorist groups.
But why are Russian jets targeting groups like the Free Syrian Army when the foreign minister says things like this?
We don't consider Free Syrian Army a terrorist group.
According to a statement by the Syrian National Coalition, nearly 94% of the 12,000 sorties the Russian Air Force has so far flown in Syria targeted civilians and the Free Syrian Army. And the number of casualties tallied by the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights suggests more civilians have been killed in Russian airstrikes than Daesh terrorists in 4 months.
الشوفيرية والناس الموجودة صارت تهرب، بعدين صارت تضرب كل سيارتين سوا، يعني حرقت ما يعادل 100 سيارة. أول سيارة ما يعادل 100 سيارة احترقوا. في غزة كثير وفي ناس احترقت من كل الجهات. السيارات كلها مدنية.
The international community has criticized Russia for killing civilians. US President Barack Obama was among those voices, saying Russian President Vladimir Putin treats opposition groups the same way he treats Daesh, as terrorists.
He doesn't distinguish between ISIL and a moderate Sunni opposition that wants to see Mr. Assad go. From their perspective, they're all terrorists. And that's a recipe for disaster. And it's one that I reject.
Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan accuses Russia of having its own agenda.
Suriye'de terörle mücadele bahanesiyle bölgeye gelen asıl amacının Assad rejimini ayakta tutmak olduğu anlaşılan Rusya'nın operasyonları bölgedeki sorunları daha da derinleştiriyor. Ve Rusya Daesh'le mücadelede değildir.
وهي جرائم حرب وجرائم ضد الإنسانية.
Russia's intervention in Syria has raised the stakes for both combatants and civilians. And with the Geneva peace talks at best suspended, the war seems only to be getting worse.